Hello, I am Ugo Lord.
And I'm Law by Mike.
And together we are...
I'm Mike Mandel.
Hello, I'm Ugo Lord.
And I'm Mike Mandel.
We are both practicing attorneys, and together we have over 20 years of experience.
But we're not just regular lawyers.
Oh no, we are cool lawyers.
Really cool lawyers. Today we're gonna do a little segment we like to call Devil's Advocate, where Ugo and I will go head to head on some of the most debated topics.
We're actually friends in real life, but you wouldn't know it by watching this video.
Not today.
Because nothing is off limits.
Nothing?
Nothing. Profanity, a beat down.
What?
Your mother?
Don't bring Mama into it.
Oh, Mama, that's so cute. Anyways, today we'll be debating the one topic that should rattle up your conspiracy theorist uncle, censoring online speech on social media. And to keep things fair, we're gonna leave the decision on who will be debating what topic up to fate.
And here we go. All right. I will be arguing the side of pro-censorship on the internet.
Which means that I'll be arguing the negative, which is against censorship of online speech on social media.
Social media is a breeding ground for misinformation and harmful content. Censorship is needed to protect the vulnerable, like children.
Censoring what people can or cannot say on social media is a direct violation of the Constitution. It's a slippery slope. It's time for Crossfire, where we take this time to rip each other's arguments to shreds.
Social media platforms are run by privately owned companies. The First Amendment applies to the government, not to private owned companies. How do you respond?
Well, here's the thing. When we look at these privately owned companies, institutions such as Facebook, Instagram, they hold a monopoly over all of social media that exists. In fact, they're so big that nothing else can survive in its shadow. Therefore, it's similar to like an unfair trade practice. So even though they're private companies, they still should not be subjecting people to censorship of their speech because they're so big and there's nowhere else to go. Mike?
Okay, sassy.
Snapchat does not allow any political content whatsoever on their spotlight. Isn't it someone's right to be able to express their political views on each platform?
Oh, you're talking about the First Amendment right? Yeah, that right applies to the government, and the government can't suppress your right to freedom of speech. But we're talking about private companies here. Instagram, Snapchat, those are private companies. First Amendment doesn't apply to them. And I'm guessing you didn't read the terms of service, Ugo, because they can decide what they want and don't want on their platform. So if Snapchat says that, that's fine. Then you can go somewhere else if you don't want those restrictions on what you can and can't post. Without censorship, children could access inappropriate or harmful content online. Don't you think children should be protected?
I think children should definitely be protected by their parents, Mike. It's a parent's job to protect their children, not a government's job or a company's job. The most common form of censorship is using AI to filter out what people can and cannot say on these social media platforms. Do you really want artificial intelligence determining what people can and cannot say?
First of all, I think artificial intelligence is probably more unbiased than any human would be, right? I don't think it's such a bad idea that artificial intelligence is scanning through it. But as you know, all these social media platforms have safeguards. It's not just AI only that is looking through it. You can always appeal those decisions with a real human. And again, they're private companies, Ugo. If they want to do this and you don't like it, go somewhere else. Make your own Instagram.
Why do you keep telling me to leave?
Because I don't want you on the same platform as me. With an upcoming presidential election, isn't it more important now, more than ever, that misinformation isn't spread on the internet?
Mike, none of us want misinformation. That's absolutely true. But who is going to be the social media police to monitor all of this and decide what is misinformation and what is not? It is up for the voters to go out and do their own research, go and find their own information. It shouldn't be regulated by these platforms. According to a 2021 Pew Research study, 48% of US adults say that they get their news from social media. And one of the key characteristics of a dictatorship is the censorship of media. So if we start censoring our social media, how are we no different than a dictatorship?
Well, first of all, where was the Pew study even conducted? I'll stop you there. I'm sure you don't even know anything about this Pew study. Let's not even get into that. We're not talking about censoring the news. What we're talking about is censoring the most harmful content out there to make sure that the vulnerable classes like children are protected. But even more so than that, and I hate to keep repeating myself, these are private companies. They can choose what they want or don't want on their platforms. At the end of the day, you can just just go somewhere else.
He wants me to go somewhere else, you guys.
Yeah, please, different platform. First was TikTok, then YouTube. Now he's on the same channel as me.
It's actually true.
Have you ever experienced hate speech on social media? If so, haven't you wished that you were protected?
Yes, Mike, I have experienced hate speech online. But what I've also experienced is seeing that other people in the comments calling out hate speech and saying that they're not gonna stand for it. You see, you have to let the people arbitrate. Let them decide who the bad actors are on the platform in order to get rid of them. Because if you know who you're not gonna borrow sugar from, then you know how to deal with them in the future. It shouldn't be up to the platforms, it should be up to the people. Censoring online speech on social media will ultimately distinguish good versus bad, which is a subjective measure. How can you enforce a subjective policy?
First of all, what is good and bad is not always subjective. There's certain things that are inherently bad that we can agree are bad. And there's certain things that are inherently good that we can agree are good, like pictures of my cat playing. I love you, Miso. The in-between is not what we're talking about censoring. The things that are inherently bad should not be on the internet. Nudity, extreme violence, things like that should not be on these social media platforms. And at the end of the day, Ugo, these platforms can decide what they want or don't want on their platforms, because that's their freedom of speech. And saying anything otherwise is infringing on that. Now it's time for closing arguments.
Let's go, Mike.
There have been many great things to come out of social media. Videos of cats jumping onto things only to fall. Those hand dances that kids on TikTok do, and ASMR of women with acrylic nails tapping on plastic. Now, my opponent's argument actually reminds me a lot of his TikTok videos. It's full of one car crash after another. But social media should also be considered a weapon, a double-edged sword, forged from misinformation going viral and hate speech in the comments. We cannot underestimate the power that social media has over its users, and with great power comes great responsibility. Social platforms have the responsibility of minimizing harm, and the only way they can do that is through censorship. It may not be perfect, but it's a fair trade to ensuring that social media exists as a tool and not a weapon.
My opponent wants you to believe that censoring online speech on social media is a one-size-fits-all solution. And judging by the shirt he's wearing, he has an affinity for things that are one-size-fits-all.
I love this shirt.
Exactly. Do you want a man who decided to wear that shirt deciding what you can or cannot say online? I think not. Now, how would you feel about putting what you can or cannot say in the hands of big corporations and artificial intelligence? Luckily, we had a little thing called the First Amendment. Censorship of online speech is the exact opposite of freedom of speech. And last I checked my calendar, it was not opposite day. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case.
Nice job, nice job.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Tell us where you stand.
Would you have argued something differently? Remember, these are not our personal views as to which side. We were just stuck having to argue them. But which side would you argue for? And do you have any additional arguments or disagree with any of the arguments that were made here?
Let us know. We look forward to reading your comments. And who knows, we might even respond to some of them.
And don't talk about my mom like that ever again.
I love Marilyn. Who do you think won this debate? Let us know in the comments below.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you don't, we will take legal action.